So today we are going to be doing my May wrap-up. Today I'm actually using Goodreads because I did not finish my reading journal, printing out all the stickers and everything. So we'll just go the easy way for today. So these are not in any particular star order or anything, but honestly, I don't think us book lovers really care. We just want to hear how we liked books. So I hope you're ready. All right, so I'm actually gonna hopefully organize this by the first book that I read, so that way it's a little bit easier than the most recent. All right, so we're in May. All right, so the first book that I read was actually kind of probably the worst book that I read this month, which I'm sad to say because I was really hoping to like it. But A Long Time Comin' by Robin W. Peterson, and I do want to try some of her other books as well, but this one was just unfortunately enough for me. I ended up giving it 1 star, and it was very, very slow paced. And there was a lot of family drama, which I don't mind family drama in books, but there was really no break and no release from the family drama. It just felt like family drama from beginning to end with no, there was a little bit of resolution at the end, but not enough for me. And I just found it very slow paced throughout. So unfortunately, it was not for me. But this book is about a mother who is passing away, and she kind of wants to, she is afraid to speak to her relatives face to face. So she ends up getting one of her relatives, I believe it's a relative, yeah, her granddaughter, to write letters for her. So she will dictate as her granddaughter writes letters and sends them off to her relatives. So that's basically the whole premise, is this granddaughter sending these letters to each of the relatives and kind of the problems that they had with their grandmother, and tried to figure things out and get the family back together. But unfortunately, I really just did not think there was enough resolution by the end of the book that I wanted. There wasn't a huge, I don't know, I guess, there isn't always, I don't always want a happy ending, but I just felt like this one just wasn't enough for me at the end of the book. So I finished the second part 2 in the Devotionals by Mesu. It is her devotions with depth, and her husband is actually editing her books, which I think is awesome. I love that. But this is the second one, and I have one more left to go, and I am loving these. I think they're great devotionals. I love that the entire book of Genesis is written in there. It's not just a few passages here and there. It's literally word for word the entire book of Genesis. So she went out and wrote the entire book of Genesis throughout 3 parts of these devotionals, and I'm just loving them. They're honestly, a lot of devotionals are very, I would say, kind of hard hitting. This one isn't really like that. It's definitely more upbeat and more positive, which honestly I kind of needed, I think. I really wanted just some good stuff. So I would honestly say these are mostly 95% positive. And it's not positive, but just a more upbeat feel to a devotional, and how God just brings us through tough times, and how the people through Genesis really just spoke to God and relied on him. And I love them. I loved her personal stories. There's one story about the powdered donuts that I absolutely adored. I thought it was hilarious, and it reminded me of something I would try to do. Never have, but it was really cute and really funny. She was saying that she had to go to the bathroom on road trips, and instead of going to the bathroom, she was buying donuts. And I just thought that was so great. I'm like, I can totally picture her doing that. She and her husband are both amazing people, and I love them so much. And yeah, I will read anything that Mesu puts out. Absolutely anything. And I'm almost done too, reading all that she's so far published. So I gave that one 5 stars. All right, and then I read an Archie comic book. Might as well go through everything that I read. Actually, it's Betty and Veronica. Next one that I read, ooh, good one. Oh, it's right here, yay. I read The Vanishing at Castle Moreau by Jaime Jo Wright. So I did a review on this, I think. So I will link it down below, so I'm not going to go into huge detail, but as of right now, this is my favorite Jaime Jo Wright book out there so far. I think I've read 5 or 6 of her books, and I have a few more to go, but so far, this is my favorite, and Curse of Misty Wayfarer is kind of tied, but I think this one's even more loved, I think. So this one is about Yeah, names are not good with me. But so we have, I think this is almost 3 timelines, which I think is really cool. She's only done 2 timelines, I think, so far. So seeing 3 timelines, that's pretty crazy. So this one is about Daisy back in the past, and she gets a job working for this reclusive writer in this castle. And then we have Cleo, who is in modern timeline, and she gets a job working for a reclusive woman in the same castle, but it's a different person. But I love this. The mystery was so, I wouldn't say super intense. Jaime's well known for like that creepy atmospheric, but it's not, it's not Stephen King. It's not going to give you nightmares. Definitely not even close to that. I haven't read a Stephen King, that's why. But yeah, so hers are just kind of creepy atmospheric. Like there may be like mentions of ghosts in her books, but like there is like the Scooby-Doo explanation. There's something going on behind these noises and bumps in the night, and just the haunted castle in the middle of the US, and just the creepiness of it. I loved it, and it was definitely a 5-star read for me. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars, didn't I? Yes, I did. I was like, if I didn't, I better change it because I loved it. Yeah, that was a great one. All right, so the next one that I read, I think I left it up there, but it is The Pharaoh's Daughter by Mesu Andrews. I read this one. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yes, 4 stars. And I did enjoy this one, but I know it was at a time where I was really trying to finish a lot of audiobooks, so I didn't give it like the best direction. Like I didn't give it enough of my mental capacity to actually listen to it, and I wish I did because I did really enjoy it. So this one, Pharaoh's Daughter, is about Pharaoh's daughter and how she finds Moses, and it's really just, I would say honestly, it's not too much set on Moses. Like Moses is a very small part of the story. It's mostly all about Pharaoh's daughter. So that's kind of what I liked about it. Like some of her books are more set around like a main biblical character, but some books like this one is more geared toward like a side character, and just kind of seeing her day-to-day life, how she found Moses, and how was it like raising him in an Egyptian house. And it was really cool. I did enjoy it. I like the second book better though, I think. But I have not given one of her books under 4 stars, I don't think. All right, the next one that I read was The Barrister and the Letter of Marque by Todd M. Johnson. And I don't know. It was definitely honestly written almost in an old English, almost. Not quite that language, but very close. So if you're a fan of like Jane Austen and Agatha Christie, kind of more of that type of mystery, I think you would enjoy it. So this is about kind of like there's piracy going on, and something happens where there's a captain of a ship that is convicted of a crime, and this barrister ends up helping this woman who thinks he's innocent, and so they go on in search of who's actually involved in it. So I did enjoy it. I ended up giving it, I think, 3 stars. So it was okay, and if the author wrote more in this series, I think I would be good in trying out another one. So yeah, if you like kind of like that Sherlock Holmes feel, kind of the more English or old English type mysteries, I think you would enjoy this one. The Unhiding of Elijah Campbell by Kelly Flanagan. So this one was 3.5 stars for me, and I would definitely be interested in picking up more books by him. I think he's got one in the works, and I think he's written a couple nonfiction, but this is his first fiction book, and this one's very different. Like I honestly wasn't quite what I was expecting going into it. So this is about a man who basically is hitting like his what's it called? I forgot what it's called. What is it called? Midlife crisis. That's what it is. Wow, I could not think of the word. But it's about this man, Elijah, and he's hitting that midlife crisis, and he's been keeping secrets from his family, and finally his wife is just done with it and over it, and she wants to leave him. And he's trying to figure out like why are you leaving me? What's going on? Like how can I fix this? And so I heard from him, and I thought it was really cool how each character in this book actually goes along with the Beatitudes in the Bible, which I thought was a really cool idea. So I actually might reread this one at some point and try to figure out the Beatitudes throughout this book, because I didn't even realize that. So going into that. But yeah, so it's all about him trying to rediscover who he is and what's going on. There's definitely trigger warnings in here for suicidal thoughts, so make sure going into that you know that. But it's definitely different, and it's definitely more of a contemporary. It's not a romance, so if you're not into romance, definitely, check this one out. But yeah, so I also really love this cover. It's very different. He has a cool bookmark that goes with it too. So I definitely thought this was very different, and yeah, I'm excited to see what more he comes up with. He definitely dives more into the psyche of a character because he is a psychologist. So that was kind of interesting to see kind of a real psychologist take on fiction and seeing where he goes into a man's brain and psyche and just seeing like how a man would deal with this and how like the issues that he was going with through life and trying to find his love for God again. And just, yeah, it was really good. All right, so I read Under the Bayou Moon by Valerie Fraser Luesse. And this was, I think I gave it 5 stars. I'm pretty sure. If I didn't, I know I did. Yes, 5 stars. I love this one. The cover is gorgeous. She's a sweetheart. And yeah, I loved it. I really did enjoy this one. So this is about Ellie, and she is going to this, I did a whole review on this, so I won't go through all the details unless you missed it. But this is about a girl, Ellie, and she is going to this really small town in Louisiana to become a teacher. And she figures that it's going to be a really small community, like even smaller than her community with 1 traffic light. So she goes there and she ends up being the teacher of like 50 students. And she's like, 50 students is a lot. What am I going to do? And then she finds out that the other teacher passed away, and she was an older woman. And so now she has to teach all the grades, and she has no idea what she's going to do. She only has 2 helpers. She has no idea, and just, it was so cute. I love like kind of the small town feel. There was a mystery aspect going around, kind of with like a mobster feel to it, which I thought was really cool, as well as like some mysterious happenings going on. There is a white alligator in this book, which I love. I love alligators and crocodiles, so I love that she put that in part of the story. And I'm pretty sure this is her first book. I might be mistaken. I'm not sure. No, it's not her first book. It's her 4th book. But anyway, so I did really love this, and she's coming out with a new book that I'm really excited about that I cannot wait to read. But yeah, definitely check this one out. There is romance in it, but it was a slow build-up romance. I really liked it. I liked how they became friends and how they fell in love. And yeah, it was a really cute book. Definitely, if you like kind of like that Louisiana Bayou type feel, it was really great. Loved it. Okay, so the next 2 books that I read was Roots of a Wood and Stone, and then the sequel, which is The Songs That Could Have Been by Amanda Wen. So I read this duology, and there's supposed to be a 3rd book coming out next year, I believe. But I read both of these, and I really enjoyed these. Let's see what I rated them. The first book I gave 4.5 stars, and then the second book I gave 4 stars. So both really good. I really did enjoy these. This one might be closer to 3.5, the sequel, because I liked the one timeline over the other. These are dual timeline. So the first one, Roots of Wood and Stone, is about this girl who ends up at this old house. There's like this antique historical museum that she works for, and so Sloane works there, and this guy comes in like bringing all this like old stuff, and she's like, what am I supposed to do with this? Just throw it out. And like this stuff came from his grandmother's attic? Yeah. So she's like, I don't want it. Like, what am I supposed to do with all this junk? Like, it's not going to belong in this museum. So she ends up going through it, and she finds an old diary that belonged to somebody back in the early 1900s or mid 1900s, one of those. But we see the diary and how it progresses and what the house really means that his grandmother owns, and the connection kind of that their family has. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was really good. And I don't really think there was like one timeline that I liked more than the other. I think I liked the modern timeline more in this one, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I think I did. But yeah, so it's definitely interesting to see that. There's definitely like a mystery going around with family and just the connections that go on. So it was really good. It was definitely a lot different. So I like books like this that are really different. I think these are her first releases, so I think that's really cool. But she's a really sweet lady too. Yes, I read that one. I read a lot of books this month of authors that I was going to meet because I wanted to make sure that I read their books so I can talk about them. Although I didn't, I just gushed and hugged them. I didn't even really talk about their books, even though I read from every author there. Like, hey, I love your books, but I can't remember anything because I'm too excited. But anyway, so this is a sequel of The Songs That Could Have Been. And I definitely liked the historical timeline more than the modern timeline. But this is about a woman who, hurry up truck. But it's about this woman who, she was in the first book. I think she was the guy's sister. But it's about Lauren. And so she was in love with this one guy when she was younger, and they end up breaking apart for some reason. And then she ends up just really working on herself because she was struggling with, I think she was struggling with bulimia. So that's a trigger for this one. But yeah, so I think it was bulimia or one of those food disorders. And so she ends up working through that, and she ends up meeting this guy again later on, and they end up getting together and trying to solve this mystery of her grandmother Rosie. Her grandmother Rosie is now the same grandmother that was in the first book. She's now in a care facility, but when she was kind of dazed out, she mentioned a man named Ephraim, and they never heard of him. They're like, who is Ephraim? We have no idea. And they end up finding another diary, I think. I'm pretty sure. But they end up discovering who Ephraim is and who he is to their grandmother Rosie. And so it's Rosie's story back in the past as well as a modern timeline. And I really liked Rosie's story and her story with Ephraim. I'm kind of glad it ended the way it did. So I really did enjoy this one. Yeah, I thought it was really good, and I definitely liked the historical aspect of her Rosie and Ephraim story. I thought they were really cute. Shadows in the Mind's Eye by Jane Eyre Trump, and this is like one of my favorite covers. I don't know, there's just something about this one. So this one was very different from like the back of the book as it described. It wasn't super different, but it was definitely a lot different than what I thought. Because in the back of the book, I'm just going to read this one line. It said, tongues start wagging after Sam nearly kills his own brother. Now, I thought there was going to be like some kind of like fisticuffs, like he nearly kills his brother because he has PTSD from the war and he comes home. But honestly, it wasn't that dramatic, honestly. It was just an accident where he thought somebody was coming into the bar. Not to spoil anything, but it's not as dramatic as what it says in the back of the book. At least not to my opinion. But I did really enjoy this one. This one was definitely different. But I do want to say, like, it did have a few words of language in here. So that was kind of different. I was like, I've never heard of Craiggill Publishing before, but she is a very sweet lady. But there was like a little bit of slight language in here. Not a lot though, like not compared to other books, but I definitely thought it interesting how this guy who had PTSD, he came home, and I honestly thought that he was going to be the one with PTSD, which he did. But there's definitely a huge mystery going on in the background, and he starts to see things. But his wife also has PTSD, but it's from another situation of how her father was treating the family as she was growing up. And honestly, I was not expecting to have two people with PTSD in the book. I honestly thought it was just going to be him. But I'm not going to spoil anything because there's definitely a lot of other things going on in the background of this book. And it definitely felt a little bit, because I know somewhere somebody mentioned like it's kind of has a Hitchcock feel, which it does a little bit. It doesn't have as much action, but it did kind of have that Hitchcock surprise of, oh, that's what's going on. So I did enjoy it, and I loved meeting her. I thought she was so sweet and such a sweet lady. Love her. But yeah, so definitely check it out. It's definitely different, and yeah, definitely different. And I'll be excited to see what else she comes out with. I think this is her only book so far. I don't know if she has anything else coming out, but yeah. So it's definitely different. Yeah. Yeah, no other books by the author, I don't think. No, not yet. All right, so the next book that I read was Miriam by Mesu Andrews, and that was a sequel to Pharaoh's Daughter, and I give this one 4.5 stars. I buddy read this one with my friend Teresa over at Sweet Tea Reads? Yeah. But we buddy read this one together in the beginning of the month, and thankfully she is a quick reader, as am I, because I wanted to finish it before I went on my trip. So we quickly read through this one in like 2 days. So yeah, we read this one and I gave it 4.5 stars. I did really enjoy it. So this one is all centered on Miriam, Moses' sister. And so honestly, out of all of Mesu Andrews' books that I read, Miriam is the most human character I've seen Mesu write. Like, not necessarily like all of her characters are human, but just her attitude and the way she was acting just seemed so relatable to today and what we go through. And I just love that about Miriam, because like she was given visions from God, and then all of a sudden when Moses comes back, her visions stop in this book. And so she's wondering, God, what's wrong with me? Like, why aren't you giving me messages and you're just giving my brother messages? Like, is there something wrong with me? Have I done something wrong? And so she's trying to learn and figure out that like each one of us has a time where God is going to speak to us, or God is going to show us something. It's not going to happen all the time. It's not going to happen continuously. There are going to be days, months, weeks, years of not hearing anything or not understanding. And so she just kind of needed to figure that out. And so I really loved her story. I loved seeing, I think the plagues take place in this book. So we're seeing all the plagues and how they escaped from Egypt after all the plagues. So it was really good. I really enjoyed that one. The next one that I read is officially my favorite. I thought it was closer. It is officially my favorite Mesu Andrews book to date. It used to be Love Amid the Ashes. That one still kind of is. But this one, In Feast or Famine. And this one is the second book after Potiphar's wife. And In Feast or Famine, I loved. I thought it was great. So this one almost had kind of a Rapunzel retelling. So we're following Joseph, and we're following his wife, who is the priest's daughter. Her name is Asenath. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. But she was kind of trapped in a tower. She was like a priestess along with her maids. Her mother died when she was young, and so the priest ended up taking her and the other two girls to protect them, and they ended up really being recaptured pretty much, even though he treated them kind of like an Abba, but not really. Like, he put them in the tower and kept them there for, I think it was 17 years, I think. Maybe 14. It could be 14. But yeah, they were trapped up there, and like they basically had no contact with humans at all except for Potiphar, who is the priest. And so she's basically told, you're going to marry Joseph. And so she's like, I thought I was supposed to marry someone else. What's going on? So yes, it's really good. It definitely had that Rapunzel feel, like her just finally leaving the tower and experiencing the real world for the first time. It was really interesting. And I loved the monkey in the story. Oh, the monkey in the story was so cute. I'm so glad that Mesu decided to add a animal character into the book. I thought it was the perfect choice. And it's kind of like her companion throughout the book. And just the way that Asenath was, she was a priestess to a false god, but watching her grow and watching her faith in the real God and trying to figure out like who God really is, and like trying to get rid of her life pretty much giving up her whole life and what she knew from day one. So it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I think it could be a new top favorite. I really loved it. All right, so next one is, gotta go back. There we go. I read another Betty and Veronica comic book. This is showing you how much Betty and Veronica I read, at least this month. All right, so I only have a few more left to go. I think I have 3 more. Yeah. So I didn't actually read a lot this month, which is actually good because usually I read like 20 plus books. I think I only read about 14, so not bad. All right, the next one that I read was One Came Home by Amy Timberlake, and I think this is a Newbery Award winner, I think. Am I? I think it is, isn't it? Thought it was. I'm pretty sure. Now I'm all confused. Because if it is, I could add it into one of my challenges. But anyway, so I read One Came Home. That was for my TBR game. And I only gave it 2.5 stars. It was okay. I listened to the audiobook, and I don't know. I liked the premise of it. It was definitely interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if it was a narrator or if it was a story. I don't know. But it's about this girl who, she catches her older sister kissing another boy, and she's engaged to someone else. And so she ends up telling the guy, and then her sister ends up running away. And the family ends up finding a dead body and assumes it's her, and she passed away, and they find like a dead body, and they think it's her. And her sister is so adamant about like trying to find her sister. I honestly might be closer to 3 stars than 2.5, but But yeah, so she ends up like, she has some gold coins that she has, and she really wants to just go leave and try to find her sister, because she knows that she has to be alive. Like, she doesn't think that, even though they found the body with her dress, she doesn't think it's her sister. And so she ends up going off. She ends up bringing like one of the neighbor boys. His name's Billy. I remember his name. I don't remember her name. Georgie. Yeah. But Billy and Georgie end up going off and trying to find her sister. And so they end up meeting some kind strangers and some not so kind strangers along the way, because her sister was supposedly presumed to run off with like some men along with like a caravan or something. So yeah, she goes to try to find her sister, and that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, so it's definitely interesting, but I just don't think I liked the writing that much. Yeah, so it's 2.5, 3 stars. I read The Heart's Choice by Tracie, Peterson, and Kimberley Woodhouse. I just finished this one this past weekend and loved it. I loved it so much. Yeah, this is another favorite of the year for sure. It's definitely in my top favorites. So this one is about Rebecca, and I did a review on this, so I'll link all my reviews that I did this month down below in the description box. But I love this one. I loved Rebecca, and the faith content in Tracie Peterson and Kimberley Woodhouse's books are just chef's kiss. They're so perfect and so beautifully woven in. The faith is so beautifully woven into their stories that it's literally a part of the character's life, and it's just so great reading it, and like it's part of the character's life. It isn't a side plot. Like, I love that. And so this one's about Rebecca. She goes off to Montana to get a job as a court reporter, and so, well, stenographer. Oh, it is a court reporter. But she ends up going, and she ends up running into this man who is the head librarian of the library, and he has kind of some struggles with his own dad because his dad wants him to inherit the ranch. He doesn't. He wants to work for the library. And then she's kind of having struggles with a man who wants her intentions, and she wants nothing to do with him. He's kind of icky. And so she just wants to concentrate on her career. So both her and the librarian become friends through books, and I just really love that. There's a mystery going on, a murder mystery, and I really love this one. It was really great. Cannot wait to read the sequel. I don't know when it comes out, but I'm reading it. Strawberry Sin by Rosie A. Point, and I think I gave this one 3 stars. Yeah. So this is the second book in the Mission Impossible Cozy Mystery series, and I love the covers. These are so cute. I mean, they're all cute covers, all with kitties and cupcakes. So like, yeah, it's adorable. Both books I think I gave about 3 stars. So honestly, like, even though I've read like a ton of Nancy Drew books, these are kind of like my reintroduction to like cozy mystery. Like, I honestly feel like cozy mysteries are like Nancy Drew books for adults. Like, if you still love Nancy Drew, you should read cozy mysteries. So honestly, still feel like I like Nancy Drew more than these, but so far I think they're pretty good, and I would really like to see like what happens to her, because it's all about this is it, I don't know the CIA, but it's one of the Secret Service agents, but she is an ex-agent, well, still an agent, but she has to go in hiding because her husband is a double agent, her ex-husband, and so they're trying to find him and arrest him, and she's going into hiding at her grandmother's inn, where her grandmother was an ex-secret agent, and so she's getting involved with murder mysteries, but she can't because she needs to keep her face and name out of the paper. So this one was another murder mystery. They're all kind of standalones, but they do kind of follow like her spy story in the background. So different mysteries in each book, but the same kind of timeline. So you probably should read the first book first. But yeah, so I definitely did enjoy the second one. Give it 3 stars. I don't know if the first book had this problem too, but it wasn't enough of a resolution for me. Like, it was kind of almost like the Scooby-Doo feel, where like they unmask the perpetrator, and then like, even in Scooby-Doo you see the police officers most of the time, but there was just no resolution at the end. Like, hey, we got the bad guy, but we don't see him get arrested. So like, it kind of just ended there. Like, she finds out who did it, and that's the end. So I was like, can we just like have like one more chapter? I think that's the main problem that I had with this one. So, but yeah, other than that, I thought it was kind of cute, and I'm gonna still continue. The next book is called Cocoa Conviction. So, say that 3 times fast. All right, so then the last one was, I'm actually currently reading, but I thought I'd talk about it now because I'm going to forget, and I need to film this before tomorrow, and I have a lot to do tomorrow, so not a lot, but a little bit to do, so I know I'm not going to have time to film it. So I am currently reading Ginger Pie by Eleanor East, or Est. This is a Newbery Award winner, and I'm 70% of the way through. So far, it's between 3.5 and 4 stars. I am enjoying it, and I'm excited to see what happens at the end of the book. But it's about this kid who, he really, really wants a dog, and his family says yes, but he has to pay for it. So he has to get $1 before the end of the day. And so he's really trying hard to get this $1. And he finally gets a job, and he finally gets the dog. But then the dog is gone. It's missing. And they see this mysterious stranger who they heard someone was trying to buy the dog out from under this kid. And so they're like, is this the man who took the dog? So they're trying to figure out who took the dog. He's been gone for months, and so far that's as far as I've gotten. So it's 70% of the way through, and hopefully I can see what goes on after that. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. I'll probably do like a little bit of a review on Goodreads, since I'm not going to talk about like my last thoughts in this video. So definitely make sure to follow me on Goodreads. I always have it in my description box. But yeah, so I'm very excited to finish this book and be done. So that is my final book, I think, for this month. I know I'm going to be reading something tonight during reading sprints, but most likely it will be starting one of my books for next month. So yeah, so that's it. Even though I didn't finish very many books, I talked quite a long time. But yeah, so those are my books. And my favorite of the month would probably be, I don't know, there were some good ones. I think In Feast or Famine by Mesu Andrews. It's kind of tied with The Heart's Choice by Tracie Peterson and Kimberley Woodhouse. So those two were my favorites of the month. Let me know what your favorites were and your least favorite. I'd like to know that. You already know my least favorite, unfortunately, was Long Time Coming by Robin W. Pearson. But so yeah, I think it was, overall it was a pretty good month. I think I had a lot of average books, but I also had some really good ones this month. So that was great. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to chat with you in the comments. I love talking with all of you. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.